Alright, and welcome to today's lesson. So, we are starting our unit on the Middle East and the religion of Islam. So today we're going to look specifically at the geography of the Arabian Peninsula. Right here, this piece of land, this giant piece of land here that's covered mostly by desert. What we're specifically going to focus on are the bodies of water that are found around the Arabian Peninsula, and we're also going to label them on a map that you will be given or you will already have. Okay, so, and to start the lesson, I thought since it's getting closer to Halloween that we would start our story or our lesson with a little ghost story. So here we go. And we'll start with our ghost right here, this funny looking guy named Casper, our friendly ghost. I said it was a ghost story. I didn't say it was going to be scary. So Casper decides that since Halloween's coming up and it's a busy time for ghosts, he decides that he's going to take a little vacation. And so Casper calls up and he's going to go to where all the really cool, awesome ghosts are going, and this is awesome place called Club Med. Okay, so Casper packs up his stuff and he starts walking or floating, whatever ghosts do. He's floating on his way over here to his vacation at Club Med when all of a sudden he gets hit, bam, by this huge black semi-truck carrying all this black coal, and it goes all over the place. And you might ask yourself, well, if he's a ghost, how does he get hit by a truck? Well, it was a ghost truck. So he gets hit by this huge black semi-truck carrying all of his black coal, and poor Casper just gets flattened. And he's lying there on the ground all flattened, and there's the black coal all over the place. And all of a sudden people start seeing that Casper's bleeding. And he's bleeding all of this red blood, and it's just getting all over the place. Just red blood, just everywhere. And then there was this guy over here on the corner, this poor man, and he was trying to just make a living, and he was selling these Persian carpets. And Casper was getting blood all over the poor guy's Persian carpets. And so the guy was just getting really, really mad. So, long story short, they call the ambulance, or the ghost ambulance, and it comes and it goes ahead and it picks up Casper and inflates him a little bit. And they put him in the ambulance and they take him over here to the hospital. And at the hospital, they sew his sheet back together, and they tell him he's free to go, but they don't want him to go alone because, he just had surgery. So they tell him to call a friend to come pick him up. So Casper gets on his phone and he calls his friend that lives close to him. He lives closer to Casper here. And he calls his friend Tony the Tiger. And he says, "Tiger man, I got run over by a semi-truck. Come pick me up." So Tiger's like, "Oh, that's great." And so Tony comes to the hospital and he picks up Casper. And Tony doesn't have a car because, he's a tiger. So what is he going to do with a car? So he and Casper decide, since they don't have a car, that they're going to hop on a freight train. And they're going to take this freight train all the way back to their house. And then they're going to live happily ever after. Okay, cool story. So to review, we have our ghost, Casper. He's coming over to Club Med on vacation. He gets hit by a black semi-truck. He starts bleeding this red blood all over the place, and it gets all over this poor guy's Persian carpets. They take him to the hospital, and they sew him up, and he calls his friend Tony the Tiger, and he comes to pick him up, and they take a freight train to get home. So that's the end of our story. And so now, if you were paying attention, you can name the 7 bodies of water that we find on or around the Arabian Peninsula. And here's a list of them here, including the word Arabian Peninsula, which again is this piece of land right here. These are all the bodies of water that we're about to label on your map, so it'd be a good time to pause the video and write them down so that you have them in your notes. Okay, so now here are our labels. So here are the bodies of water that are found on or around the Arabian Peninsula. And so let's go through them. We have our ghost, Casper, from the Caspian Sea. And remember, he was on his way to a vacation at Club Med in the Mediterranean Sea. And while on his way there, he was hit by this black truck from the Black Sea with all the black coal. And then down here, he starts bleeding all of the red blood from the Red Sea. And it spreads and spreads and spreads and gets all over the poor guy's Persian carpets from the Persian Gulf. And then we remember that he calls his friend from the hospital. And the key here is to remember that Tony the Tiger lives closer to Casper. So that's how we keep these two rivers separate, is that Tony the Tiger lives closer to Casper. So he calls his friend Tony the Tiger for the Tigris River. And remember, poor Tony doesn't have a car. So they hop on a freight train to get home, and this is the Euphrates River. That's how you say that word there. And so now you have the 7 major bodies of water that are found on or around the Arabian Peninsula, and you should also have them labeled on your map. And as long as you can remember the ghost story, you should be able to remember all 7 on our upcoming test. So, hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, be sure to ask me in class. Thank you very much.